What's up, Whiskey Taste Buds? Adam here with another whiskey review, Whisky Wednesday review. This time we're going to do something a little different. Last Friday we did a live session on YouTube. We did sort of a happy hour thing where people could join in while I sat here and drank a bunch of whiskey. And it was a lot of fun. And my friends John and Jody provided me with 3 mystery drams. And I kind of worked my way through them. And I was supposed to try and guess which distillery or which bottle was which dram. And I didn't do too well. I got 1 out of the 3 right. But in my defense, there's one in there that I hadn't even, one distillery I'd never even tried before. So I was a little thrown for a little bit of a loop, and that happens sometimes. So nobody's perfect. Anyway, today I figured I would, I managed to save some of those little samples. And today I figured I would do a little review on all of them and tell you guys a little bit more about each one. So that's what we're going to do right now. Sorry, just trying to fix this.
I told you I should have done it for you.
A little more peanut gallery acid, that's okay. So the first one, sample number 1, is this one right here. It is a Douglas Lang expression. And Douglas Lang is an independent bottler. These are all independent bottlers. And one of their lines is called Single Minded. And it's a single cask Bunnahabhain 10-year-old. And this particular one was bottled at 43% ABV. So a lot of independent bottling single cask whiskeys will typically be bottled at cask strength. But this one, for whatever reason, they decided to water it down to 43%. But it's still decent. And here's my exploration of it. So, getting like salt water, like tidal pools. There's light smoke in there. Some of Bunnahabhain whiskeys are peated, and some of them aren't. So this is a peated single cask. Did some research afterwards. This is a refill hogshead, so it's ex-bourbon. Getting to that tidal pool, light smoke, and kind of a malty sweetness on the nose.
Okay, well, I can take her downstairs.
And the palate, it's buttery, like buttered whole grain bread. Still smoke there, but it's like a smoldering driftwood charcoal smoke. And I'm getting a little bit of cured meat, like double smoked bacon in there as well. I have to be careful because these are like half samples, so my tasting notes might be abbreviated because I don't have a lot of the liquid. But I thought it was kind of fun and important to share my discoveries with you guys. Finish is kind of toasted sugar, I'm getting like the cask, like oak and vanilla, oak spices and vanilla, but they're like charred oak and vanilla, and this lingering light peat smoke all the way through. It's quite nice. So yeah, that's the Douglas Lang single-minded Bunnahabhain 10-year-old. That was the one that threw me for a loop last week on the blind tasting because I didn't pick up the smoke right away. It came across as a completely different whiskey. So that was number 1. Number 2 was the Duncan Taylor, not Douglas Lang. And this one is a series of whiskeys that Duncan Taylor does called the Octave. And what that is they buy whiskey from different distilleries and they mature it for however long they mature it. And then they take it out of those casks and finish them in tiny little casks. In this case, they're reconstructed sherry cask, but they're really small. I don't know exactly the size, but the idea behind that is it's an accelerated overexposure to wood. I shouldn't say overexposure, but an accelerated concentrated exposure to the cask. This one here is a Milton Duff distillery, 9-year-old. I mentioned the Bunnahabhain was bottled at 43% ABV. This one, I think, is cask strength, bottled at 54.1% ABV. And this one is like incredibly rich on the nose. I get like rich honey notes. Beautiful, like fresh baked apple crumble. Almost like a syrupy sweetness, like caramelized maple syrup. And then there's this lovely candied orange peel on the nose as well. Incredibly rich and sweet on the nose. Really notice the exposure to the sherry casks. Palate. Super creamy, even at 54.1%. Smooth, creamy whiskey. That orange peel kind of carries through into the palate, but it's more of like an orange, like a dried orange, dried fruits. But there's also a lovely little banana note in there that I just picked up. I did a little bit of a rum tasting with my wife Brandy and her parents on Zoom last night, and one of the rums was a bamboo rum, and it had beautiful pineapple and banana notes. It was lovely, and this kind of like just reminded me of that right away on the palate. And yeah, orange as well, and kind of like a burnt toffee note. That's delicious. Definitely gonna have to keep my eye out for more Milton Duff. This is the one that threw me for a loop on Friday when I was doing the blind tastings because I'd never had it before. Not a super long finish, but it's more dried fruit, dried orange peel, and a bit of like clove spice on the finish. Beautiful whiskey. I really like independent bottlers. I like official bottlings too, don't get me wrong, but it's really fun to add independent bottlers to your whiskey journey, whiskey exploration, because they offer such different, unique flavors as you would normally get from official bottles. Um, and it's a lot of fun. So the third one is a Morrison Mackay independent bottling, and their line that this was bottled under is called Karen Moore, and this is an Ardmore 10-year-old. Ardmore is a Highland distillery, and it's owned by Beam Suntory, and they typically are known for having some peat in their Highland whiskeys, but not all of them. And it's a very different peat than like an Islay peat. However, this particular bottling, it's a single cask, was actually an ex Lafroig cask. So it's a Highland malt, a Highland whiskey spirit, finished in an ex Lafroig cask from Islay. Very similar to. I got to get myself a studio or something. Very similar to a local distillery here called Shelter Point. They did a whiskey called Smoke Point that was matured in ex Lafroig casks as well. And I believe the Strathcona liquor store down in Victoria bought a cask from Shelter Point that was ex Lafroig as well, called Echoes of the Hebrides. So if you like any of those whiskeys, you should try this one too. It's a very different expression to Shelter Point is completely different as far as the spirit goes, but it's interesting to sort of discover the effect of the cask on this one. So again, right on the nose, you get light peat right away, kind of earthy, vegetal. There's vanilla in there. I'm getting lemon and ginger, like a ginger spice. And with that peat, there's a sweetness in there, like an applewood smoke. Lovely nose. On the palate, it's that sort of earthy, salty coastal peat. Vanilla again. And I'm getting like caramel in there as well. More ginger and clove. And the saltiness is kind of like reminds me of like a dried kelp that you get that washes up on the shores around here on the island. Beautiful. Love this dram. Finish is, I would say, medium drying, very dry finish. More of that coastal peat, more lemon and oak spices. Something about ex Lafroig casks, I don't know. Delicious. If I had to pick my favorite out of the three, it would be a really tough call because the Milton Duff just kind of blew me away. Not typically the kind of whiskeys that I sort of gravitate towards, but it was really good, and the nose was amazingly complex. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But But the Ardmore ticks a lot of the boxes for me as far as where I am in my whiskey journey right now. So I would have to say that probably the Ardmore is my favorite of the three. Another comparison. Last Wednesday, I think I did a comparison between another independent bottling of Bunnahabhain, 12-year-old, and the official bottling of Bunnahabhain 12. If I had to compare this Bunna with those, that's a tough call. I think in a blind tasting, I got to give it to Bunnahabhain. I think I would have chosen the official bottling out of all three, which is a mix, a combination of ex-bourbon and sherry casks. But having said that, I think both of the independent bottling expressions of the Bunnahabhain were amazing as well. Anyway, those were the three whiskeys. It was a lot of fun, and I hope to do more of that kind of stuff if I can source some samples of whiskeys that aren't mine that I don't know about. If you liked what I did today, or if you like my videos and the live stuff, feel free to join in when we're doing live casts. Don't forget to hit subscribe and get the notifications for whenever we're on. Also check out our website. I'm posting all these whiskey reviews on our website, bluecollarandscholar.com. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time.